Okay, so are you guys ready to do a deep dive about this news on Spirit Airlines? Personally, this news really is weighing down on me because to know me is to know that I love me, Spirit Airlines. I love getting on a cheap flight, grabbing a backpack, throwing it on my shoulders, and then just taking off. So this news is really heartbreaking to me personally. I had no idea how close to the edge Spirit Airline was, so right now they're looking at filing for bankruptcy, which is crazy. And I think to really understand why this is such a big deal, we have to understand what Spirit Airline represents. So they weren't just another budget airline, they practically invented the low-cost budget model. Well, Spirit Airlines does have a reputation now of nickel and diming customers. When they first started, their idea and their business model was actually revolutionary for the airline industry at the time. So it goes beyond just cheap seats. So the idea of Spirit, their mission, their goal when they first started was the idea that the base fare should be as low as possible, rock bottom, and then customers get to choose what they want to add on to their price and what they want to pay extra for. Bags, legroom, even water, sometimes people are just that cheap and they don't want to pay for it. And at the time, this was absolutely crazy because people were just used to getting these things already with their ticket purchases at their airline. So this was something that was completely new, super cheap, and people weren't really used to. And at the time, it was working really well for them. They grew their business exponentially. However, right now, Spirit is really going through some tough times. And recently, they lost 55% of their stock price in one day, which is absolutely insane. But this is just a case study basically in how not to run an airline. Now, the main cause of this recent stock drop was basically their failed merger with Frontier Airlines. They were basically trying to buy Frontier and become a bigger airline. However, unfortunately for them, JetBlue kind of swooped in and tried to steal their deal. But unfortunately for JetBlue, the government stepped in and basically was like, nah, that's not happening. So at the end of the day, there weren't any mergers that were made. The idea behind the reasoning for the government stopping this merger was the idea that if JetBlue and Spirit, which are two of the biggest low-cost airlines right now in America, were to merge, it would actually hurt customers in the long run because there would be a lot less competition. So they would be set prices for that area of low-cost flights. So even though Spirit does have a bad rap of just being just a bare minimum, there is still a value of having them around as an airline because they're always an option. So if you can't find the flight you're looking for on Southwest or Delta or JetBlue, Spirit Airlines is always an option. They play a very important role in keeping airfares from skyrocketing. So now the question then becomes, if they were so good at what they were doing, if they were so successful, why were they even looking to do a merger with Frontier in the first place? Well, the trouble for Spirit really started a little bit before the pandemic when they were, a low-cost budget airline focused on economy travelers. And for whatever reason, the bigger players like Delta and United, the bigger players of the world, of the airline world, saw how much money Spirit was making, and they decided that they wanted to copy Spirit's business model. And they also started charging their customers additional fees and having basic economy pricing, where before that they weren't doing that. So now it's not just other budget airlines they're competing with. Now they're competing with the big dogs who have the budget and the money to undercut their prices. And to make a bad situation worse, around that same time, gas prices was increasing. So it was costing them a lot of money for fuel. So now I know it was hurting every airline, but when Spirit Airlines margin were already razor thin, it really started to affect them economically. So they were getting squeezed all over the place. The bigger guys were moving into their territory and their costs were rising. And to make a situation go from bad to worse, around that same time, the government was cracking down on hidden fees that airlines charge. Well, that was great news for us as customers that fly with these airlines. It was not so good news for Spirit Airlines, who was the ones charging the fees, and that was how they were making their money. But looking at the bigger picture of where consumers are in the economy, they're really looking for more transparency when they're buying from companies. So this kind of made sense from a consumer standpoint. However, it was kind of like the rug was being pulled out of Spirit Airlines under their feet, because the hidden fees were basically their entire business models. That was how they made their money. And that shift in consumer expectations was a major blow to Spirit's profitability. So they're losing money. Merger attempts have crashed and failed. And then the government basically went after their main source of income, which was the hidden fees that they charged their customers. So around this time, Spirit Airlines is under a lot of pressure. So what they were trying to do is sell off the existing planes that they had, scrambling to sell them. And they were even firing people to try to, reduce costs as much as possible. However, it wasn't enough. It might not be enough. And this is where we have the possibility of the big B word, bankruptcy. But the thing with Chapter 11 bankruptcy is it's not always like a kiss of death, like putting you in a casket and just shipping you off into the grave. Sometimes it's just a pause button so that companies can have a chance to just restructure their business model, restructure their plans, and just come out better, bigger and better out of it. Now, the problem with this is they have to convince their creditors that they actually have a plan to become profitable again. And if they do manage to perform a miracle and get their investors and their creditors to believe in them again, it might not be the same whenever they restructure their operations. That might look like, for us as consumers, higher prices. It might look like our favorite routes getting cut. So right now, Spirit's main goal would be trying to attract enough passengers to make those rock bottom prices work for them, and an economy where consumers are really feeling the squeeze and don't really have much money to spend on, leisurely things like travel. But this situation with Spirit really kind of makes you wonder about the future of budget airlines in general. Is it possible for them to even really survive without those hidden fees that they're charging customers? So for me, it'll be really fascinating to see how Spirit Airlines and other low budget airlines really try to adapt to this changing landscape. Number one, in the fees that they're able to charge customers, and number two, to changing customer preferences, and to see how they're able to manage their way through it. Hopefully they get creative and they find new ways to get new amenities and new experiences that customers are actually willing to pay for. So this is a very big deal in the airline industry, and it's going to be a very major turning point for the industry, because it's going to be the airlines that can find a good balance between good price point for the airfare and also really good customer service. Those are going to be the airlines that survive, because as we know, as much as I love flying Spirit, you don't always get the best customer service. And while price is a great motivator when people buy airline tickets, I know it for sure is a motivator for me. I feel like the balance is slowly tipping on towards the side of the customers. So this is just a lesson that no company, no matter how big, how successful, how rich, can ignore the power of consumer demand. So now I want to bring it back to you guys. What do you think? Are you willing to go and fly Spirit Airlines? Honestly, I fly Spirit Airlines quite often. To me, they're pretty good if you're just going away for a weekend and not going very far. you know, sometimes I don't care about just bringing, you know, carry on with me, and I just want to get to where I'm going. So let me know what you guys think down below. Are you willing to take a chance on Spirit? What do you think is going to happen with this bankruptcy? Personally, I really do hope they survive. Spirit Airlines has been my go-to airlines from my broke college days to my broke adulthood. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching the Riggy Report. My name is Riggy, and I'm so happy to be able to be here and speak to you guys today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.